Hi, my name is Samyak Jain. I'm representing myself from DS4200 at Northeast University. This is homework 3. For this one, I've said which country led to highest carbon emission with the internet. I've used the data from Kaggle, and I've used two data sources to compile a data set together based on country and internet user rate. So in the visualization below depicts a dashboard. The dashboard depicts a geomap in the first visualization. In the second one, we can see the comparison between CO2 emission and internet user rate. In the third one, we can see population and CO2 emission. And in the fourth one, we can see yearly change of CO2 emission by country. So in the visualization, we can clearly see some of the highest emitting country is China, USA, India, etc. We can also see as internet user rate goes up, the zero emission from developed countries is also some of the highest we can see among the people. The yearly change of CO2 emission has increased in less developed country, definitely like Mongolia, Philippines, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, etc. While if we go down all the way down, we can see like developed countries and nations are moving away from CO2 emission as internet user rate is going up. We can see also see like the correlation between population and CO2 emission. We can see the highest populated countries are some of the highest producing highest CO2 emitting countries in the world. Uh, so the possible insights I've based my visualization is the highest emission of CO2 gas per country has also the lowest life expectancy per country. Task 1 would be to compare the CO2 emission per country with the life expectancy of the country. The second, the average internet user rate for each country are highest for country with the highest CO2 emission. Task 2 would be to compare the CO2 emission for each country with the internet user rate for each country. For third, for the country with the yearly rate of CO2 emission and emission rate per capita are in the bottom 50 countries. And for this, the task 3 would be to identify the urban rate greater than 50 for each country, and then find the trend with emission rate for each country. For this visualization, I'm pursuing task 2. The main task would be to compare the CO2 emission for each country with the internet user rate for each country. The secondary task would be to identify the urban rate for each country and then find the trend with emission rate for each country. The target audience would definitely be people in government who needs to take action against climate change and also to educate the urban population on the effects of carbon emission. The dataset type is the dataset is tabular and static. The attributes in the datasets are country, CO2 emission, life expectancy, population, yearly change, internet user rate, and urban rate. How I've done this is encode. I've arranged order the data by the data by CO2 for each country and then compared it by the urban rate and internet user rate in each country. I've filtered country, CO2 and life expectancy. I've also aggregated and embedded country names. For marks, I've used lines to show the CO2 emission and channels to show represent the country name and CO2 emission by each country. Analysis. After analyzing the trends and comparing the graphs, I found that the five biggest CO2 emission countries are China, USA, India, Russia, and Japan. Out of the five countries, India has the lowest internet user rate, even though other leading countries are among the highest internet user rate. The CO2 emission from these countries have also been high. Then I compared the country with the highest yearly change in CO2. After generating the table, I found that country with the low internet and medium internet rate are slowly increasing CO2 over years, and most countries are still increasing the emission of CO2 rather than decreasing. One unique finding which I found out of the visualization is that countries with the highest internet user rate are decreasing their CO2 emission yearly. To name the top three out of the five countries have started decreasing CO2 emission on yearly basis. These top three countries are USA, Japan, and Russia. All have the highest internet user rate, so we can say that that as years are changing, CO2 emission in a high urban literate and user rate country, CO2 is decreasing. I've also created additional visual idioms to denote the top 20 country by internet user rate and CO2 emission by country. I've also used urban rate comparison to life expectancy comparison, and usually we can see that life expectancy remains same for most part, but like urban rate decreases, life expectancy kind of remains same in most of the countries. Thank you.